How's everyone else doing? Loving this like 55-degree weather?
Yeah, I think my car said 61 earlier.
It's
So nice.
it's nice, but at the same time, to me, it's concerning. It's like, why is it so warm?
Yeah.
The skiing up north was pretty bad.
Oh yeah. My
Well, having
son
grown up in California, the skiing up north is always bad.
was at Sugar Bush in Vermont, which is a decent amount up on the
Here
weekend.
comes
And
Paul.
he said
There
it
he
was okay. It wasn't really that good. Oh, there we go. Paul's connecting to audio.
I grew up in California too, Craig. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
you
a
brought
good
the
question. I had a reason, but being divorced and kids in college, I don't know if I have that same reason.
It's a fair point.
Other than job and friends, but whatever.
There you go. Yeah.
And the ZBA. What would we do
Well,
Well,
without you?
clearly my
How could
civic
you
walk
duty
away
is
from
tying
all
me
this?
Yeah.
here. I think I have like 3 more years in my current term, so
All right, Paul, you with us? Or the snowman that is representing Paul?
Laura, since we are waiting for Paul to actually arrive,
Mhm.
did you ever find out what the second Pell was?
No,
That
I
show
didn't.
up?
No. Must have not been for us.
Then who's it for?
I don't know.
Like,
I have no answer.
Come on, Paul, you can do it.
So close.
Are you on your boat, like in between Martha's Vineyard and Falmouth?
Yeah, coverage
be.
is
It's a
notably
nice day.
spotty there.
I'm planning on going to the vineyard on Friday if you want to like offer to take me.
I think a free ride over to the vineyard.
Full house on the attendee side.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, guys, too, Brian Winter is here from Town Council. So
Oh, okay. That's who.
thank you, Brian, for coming.
Oh, can they hear us? Oh, wow. Probably should have known that.
Oh, hang on, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hi, everybody. I'm just in participant mode right now, so I just wanted to let you know that I'm here. I heard my name mentioned.
Yeah. Do you want me to make you a panelist?
Up to the chair, up to the board, however you want to handle it.
Okay. Craig, you're
I'd say
muted.
panelist.
Yeah, what's that? I think he can, we can just, if we need to ask him a question, we can bring him in.
Okay. Mhm.
So I'll stay as an attendee and
Let's see. Brian, I'm going to move you over to a panelist.
okay.
Paul's having a problem with audio, apparently. Give it just a little bit more time because Paul's right here, but I don't know what's going on. He's connecting again.
This check mark.
Oh,
Oh, I think he's in.
You there, Paul?
Or not.
Paul, you there? Not. I thought he connected to audio and then went to mute.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
We see the limitations of remote participation.
Or the limitations of Paul's Wi-Fi at home.
Yeah. Or on the boat.
Maybe Paul could like put in the chat whether he can at least hear what's going on so he can open things up and get it started.
Oh, here comes
Yeah.
another Paul.
Another Paul. Different mode to connect via audio. Yeah, Laura, let's get started. I don't know if Paul can hear or see, but we're at 7:08 now.
Okay.
And let's just see how well Paul does at connecting.
Okay. All right. You want to call the meeting to order?
Yeah, is everything set?
Except for Paul, yeah.
Okay.
I just messaged him through the chat. See,
Okay.
disabled so far, nothing.
All right. Paul said he can hear and he can see us, so let's get going. So good evening. I'm calling to order the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for February 15, 2023. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. Okay, so item 1 on the agenda is 15 Main Street. So we have somebody to present, Laura?
Yeah. Dan, I'm gonna move you over, and while we're waiting for that, I'll read the public hearing notices.
Okay. Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
All right. Excuse me. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a continued public hearing via virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, February 15th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. with regard to the petition of Karen Connell, 15 Main Street, Southborough, Massachusetts, map 54, lot 28. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to allow an accessory apartment. The property is located in the residential A district. Relief is requested under section 174-8.2 and section 174-19. In addition, the Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing via virtual Zoom meeting Wednesday, February 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. with regard to the petition of Karen Connell, 15 Main Street, Southborough, Massachusetts, map 54, lot 28. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to allow an alteration to a pre-existing non-conforming use and an accessory apartment. The property is located in the residential A district. Relief is requested under section 174-8.2, section 174-9B, and section 174-19. Sorry, that was a mouthful. So,
Yes, it was. It's unusual to have 2 of them like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Mr. Chair, should I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Bailey.
My name's Dan Bailey. I am a land use attorney at Pierce Atwood in Boston. I am representing the applicant on this matter. I thought I would probably start by trying to do a little bit of untangling of what has been a little bit of a confusing application process, so that, you, I think, better understand what we're asking for here tonight. Just a little bit of background first. 15 Main Street was until recently, there was a structure there. It has been removed, but it was an existing 3-family structure. There were 3 utility connections, 3 mailboxes, and the Connells had always used it as a 3-family. A 3-family is a non-conforming use in the RA district. The existing 3-family was also non-conforming with respect to rear yard setback, although that non-conformance was authorized in the past by a variance. Ms. Connell wants to replace the existing 3-family dwelling with a new 3-family dwelling. Her original plan was to have a 2-family dwelling with a detached garage with an accessory apartment above. We had several discussions. I had several discussions with the building inspector, Lori Lavoli, about what permits would be required given how challenging Section 6 can sometimes be. After some back and forth, she advised us to submit an application for alteration or reconstruction of a non-conforming use under Section 174-19. The proposed the new structure, the proposed new structure is conforming in all respects with respect to dimensional requirements. So all we're asking for is for the use. We submitted that application on December 1st. Further discussion with Ms. Lavoli and Laura Davis led us to amending the application to request special permit for reconstruction of non-conforming use for a 3-unit to a 2-unit dwelling, and for a special permit for an accessory apartment above the garage. Then, when the planning board staff got notice of that application, we were contacted by Karina Quinn, who advised us that an accessory apartment cannot be authorized on a lot with a 2-family dwelling. That led to us appealing Ms. Lavoli's denial letter of December 27th in my letter to the board dated January 17th. Then, in a subsequent conversation with town council, and it was with Jay Tallerman, not with Mr. Winter, and then a final revision to the plan that changed the garage from a detached garage to an attached garage. The appeal of Ms. Lavoli's denial letter is not on the agenda tonight. I think that is next month if necessary. Nor are we seeking a special permit for an accessory apartment. The only thing we are seeking is a special permit for reconstruction of a non-conforming 3-family dwelling. Laura, could you start with the screen sharing, please?
Yes.
I've found through experience that it's always better to have staff manage this stuff because there's one less hoop to go through.
Absolutely.
So, and I appreciate and thank Laura for her help. That it was the existing dwelling at the property, as you can see, quite a large older dwelling. Next slide, please. That's just another picture of it. Note the detached garage on the right. Next slide, please. This is a site plan of existing conditions when the house was there. You see the existing building at number 15. You see parcel A in the background in the back there. That was divided off many years ago. That's what the variance was obtained for. And parcel A was combined with the abutting property of Southborough Development Realty Trust. And that is used as the leach field for the septic system of the abutting Southborough Development Realty Trust property. And there's also a small existing playground on there that is used by the daycare that's next door. You can see from the site plan that both the garage and the existing dwelling do not meet the 50-foot rear yard setback requirement. Next slide, please. This is a little busy, but this is and I think we can clarify this when we get to some of the architectural drawings. But this is a site plan of the proposed house. Laura, can you?
Yeah.
And can you? Yeah, they're much better. If you can see right in the middle, it's proposed 2-story, 2-unit. It says 6 bedrooms. It's not 6 bedrooms. It's actually only 3 bedrooms, and I'll show you that when we get to the architecturals. It's 1 unit on each side, and each unit is 2 floors. The covered porch out front. You see to the left that there is a garage with a dwelling above, and that garage is connected to the main dwelling. The other thing I want to point out is that there is a large circular driveway. It's about 20 feet wide in the front, providing access to both structures. There's also information on there about a new sewer pipe connection to the existing leach field. We have a septic permit and approved leach field for 6 bedrooms, and we've been in touch with the Board of Health on that, and we're in good shape on that. Next, please. Okay, so here are the architecturals. That's just a simple, rendering on the front that shows you the main structure, the garage, and then how the two are connected. If we could go to the next one, please. Yeah, the next one, please. Yeah, we don't need to see that. And can you actually go back one, please? Okay, so this is, if you can move it down a little bit, because that's just the attic on top. Okay, so what we're seeing here are on the right side, is the first floor. You come in through a common foyer. There's 1 unit on the left with a dining area and a kitchen area, bath and pantry. And then there's 1 unit on the right, living, dining, and kitchen. And then on the left is the second floor. Again, the left unit has a master bed, closet, guest room, bath, and laundry. And then on the right, you've got the 1-bedroom unit, which has a master bed, an office, bath, and laundry. And then the attic is unfinished. So yeah, that is at the very top. So,
Sorry.
and if we could just go to the next one. Okay, this is the garage. You can see the upper right corner is showing the studio unit. There's no separate bedroom there. You've got a small kitchenette, you've got a bath, and then just an open loft studio type apartment. If you go down, just scroll down, you can see that the garage, it's a 2-car garage under that. That's what's proposed there. Next slide, please. It's just, it's a plan view of what it looks like from the top. I think a couple of the next slides are a little bit better for showing what it's likely to look. Yeah, here's some architecturals and elevations. Then there's a massing model next that I think is pretty good for. Yeah, there's what the garage will look like. You'll see, dormers above on both of them. Next one, please. Big level of detail, more than we usually do for zoning boards of interiors. We can go to the next one. And to the next one. I just put them all in because it was easier to have them all. And this is the one I wanted to get to. This gives you an idea of the massing of the structure and how it kind of sits on the site. As I mentioned before, the total square footage, which I don't have, but it is less than what was there previously. If you could go to the next slide, that might be it. Yeah, that's basement. Next one. Yeah. Just scroll through these. I don't think we really have anything else. No, these are all just details. And that's what the site looks like today. So, as the board no doubt knows, The standard for a grant of a special permit under section 179-19 and 174-9A is that the proposed non-conforming use is not more detrimental to the neighborhood, and there'll be no increase in the size or extent of the non-conformity. As I previously said, the footprint of the structure is conforming, but the footprint is smaller, so the number of bedrooms is less. I think there were 6 bedrooms in the prior house, and we're coming down to a total of 4 with the 1 unit over the garage. The reconstructed building will comply with all dimensional requirements. The building is a substantially smaller footprint, is visually appealing. It's located on an over 1 acre lot and located in a neighborhood with a mix of residential, commercial, and institutional uses. Again, I'm sure you all know this, but I'll just say it for the record. St. Mark's School is directly behind 15 Main Street. On the opposite side of the street are residential structures. So, I think mostly single family. I don't know if there's any multifamily. To the west is the Southborough Library. And immediately to the east, the immediate abutter is a daycare facility and a dentist's office. And further to the east are other commercial buildings on Main Street. We think that, this is very consistent with the prior use, actually somewhat less in intensity. And for that reason alone, it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. The circular driveway will enhance access and egress to the site. There are 2 parking spaces in the garage, and there's abundant space in the driveway for many vehicles. Because there are 3 units, 6 spaces are required, but again, there's only 4 bedrooms. So that's what I have. I am happy to answer questions and provide any additional information.
So thank you, Mr. Bailey. Before we get started, just I might be asking to repeat, but it gets, and I talked to Laura about this a fair amount, but just to be clear, there's 2 things here. But what we want to talk about, what you're really looking for is the special permit for reconstruction of non-conforming 3-family, correct? And then we'll worry about the other thing afterwards. Okay. Okay, very good. Paul, we might as well test it out. If you can join here, and Paul has communicated to me that he can hear. So, Paul, if you can, do you have any questions for Mr. Bailey?
Excuse me, Laura, you can take down the
Sure.
screen.
This will be the test if Paul's really there.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah, we just need one Paul to respond. Connecting to audio. No, he's muted. Paul?
Oh, I see him.
You're on mute.
Am I finally here?
We can hear you for the first time.
Yay.
Okay.
You look like you're in the witness protection.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I feel like I did something wrong.
Well, it is.
I don't know what was
so.
Thank God you guys weren't talking about me because I could see and hear everything the whole time.
We were just thinking it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions, Paul?
I do not have any questions, no.
Okay. Mike, do you have any questions for Mr. Bailey regarding this?
No, I took a look at this application. I took a look at the opinion letter that was issued by town council, because that was one of my primary concerns with respect to abandonment. And so, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Craig, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Do you are the curb cuts for the driveway existing?
No, I'm pretty sure. Laura, could you put the proposed site plan back up, maybe the 4th? I know that we're proposing, at least on I think there are two curb cuts, but they're being slightly relocated.
Okay, and there's,
Yeah, here we go. So if you look right along Main Street, there's an existing curb cut on that right side.
yep,
Okay. And that provides access. And that may need to be a new curb cut on the left side. I don't see any existing driveway
looks like
there.
there's, but and then there, I know there's two curb cuts at the property. I'm just curious as to whether or not they're both being reused, because this one in the middle, it looks like exists.
That's true.
Um,
Almost looks like
so,
there are 3 curb cuts.
well, the question is, and it doesn't impact whether you're allowed to do this, is more just a curiosity for me.
Yeah, I know. And we'd
So-
have to go get that approved by DPW anyway.
Yeah, okay. No, I mean, it seems, with the opinion letter from town council explaining the ability to maintain the non-conforming use, even though it's been demolished, it seems pretty clear.
Okay,
I did have a quick question if I could. There was-
sure.
With respect to the appeal with the town on the planning board, the extent if that was to be overturned, is this like then going to be swapped? Are you going to try to substitute that out for this?
No.
Maybe I was unclear on that.
The idea, I mean, first of all, we originally proposed that, we will withdraw, the request to the planning board. Heck, I withdraw. Oh, and I was told, yeah, we have to get their permission to withdraw it. So, but certainly if this gets approved tonight, that will be withdrawn. The other thing that would be withdrawn is the appeal of the building commissioner's determination.
Did that answer the question, Mike?
It did. Nope. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge that. But that's satisfactory for me.
Okay. Doris, did you have any questions?
I did have a question. I think Attorney Bailey be able to answer this. In section, or respond to it. In section 179, you've gone through section E. You've gone through all the points in your presentation regarding things such as not the furtherance of any other non-conforming use. But if I could just read the section, I just have one. I don't know if you have it in front of you.
I do.
Section- Okay, great. So let's just a line you could comment on. It says, we'll start with, will not increase the extent of non-conformance in size or impact. And you've addressed that. And that the cost thereof shall not exceed 50% of the assessed value of the non-conforming structure at the time of the application. And further provided that the estimate of the cost of any extension, alteration, reconstruction, or structural change utilized by the Board of Appeals in evaluating the above specified 50% of the requirement of the assessed value should not be less than the cost estimate. Do you have thoughts on that?
I do.
Okay,
Okay.
just to help me along. with
Yeah.
that,
So
because, we've taken it
I
down,
think-
we're putting it up.
I don't think that applies here. And
Okay.
Attorney Winter, obviously can weigh in here too. But I think that the way you have to read that is that applies to a non-conforming structure, because that's where you would get into cost. And we don't have a non-conforming structure. We have a non-conforming use.
It's true.
So we had a non-conforming structure. At the time, we had the variance to the setback, but now we're less non-conforming. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Now we're fully conforming now.
Okay, thanks. The second question I have is that, just to be clear, because there seems to be some clarity with the application, is that this is to continue, and one of the attachments shows it from 1982, where it's a 3-bedroom. There was a variance given in 1982 for the sewer variance, and in 1982, it doesn't give a variance for a 3-family structure, but it states it was a 3-apartment, at least back to 1982. I didn't see anything attached prior to that time.
Yes.
I keep hearing accessory apartment, accessory building, but this is just the exact same non-conforming use, at least in further back from 1982.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's why we, after the go around with various town officials and town council, we moved from a detached garage to an attached garage. So it would be one single structure, very, similar or the same as what was there previously.
Right. Yeah, I did see that. So that and others could weigh in on it. So that structure appears to be adequately attached to the main dwelling unit. It appears to be. I don't know. Is it fully enclosed? Is it just a roof line, or is it fully enclosed? The viewing.
It's a connection. Part of it's enclosed and part of it is open.
Maybe I'll ask that a different way. Is it heated, or is it sort of a breezeway?
Part of it is definitely a breezeway. Yeah, sort of the first part of it is enclosed, and then it's a breezeway. Laura, can you scroll down a little bit? I think we can get a.
Yes.
Yeah, there. You can see it right there.
Yeah.
Sort of that. There's an open area. Maybe roughly 50% is open and 50% is enclosed.
Paul looks like he's going to ask a question.
No, now I can't see what Laura's screen is showing.
Okay, yeah, you look
Oh,
a
no.
little.
I'm just
So
at a
yeah,
loss.
that's is it. Maybe I'm going to see if anyone wants to weigh in on the attachment
Well,
aspect.
Yeah,
A breezeway counts as attached, I believe.
right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know we've had other.
It doesn't really matter if it's heated, not heated. If it's attached, it's attached. It's fine.
Right. We've had other applications before the board where there's been a similar connection, and we consider it attached. So I don't think that's really in dispute.
So that's my question. Those are my
Okay.
questions.
All right. Jamie, you don't because we have everybody else, you don't really have a a vote here, but I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to raise.
Yeah, I had, I think, an easy question. I know you said it says 6-bedroom on that plan. It's not going to be 6-bedroom. So I thought then you said it was going to be 3-bedroom, but then at the end you said 4-bedroom. So I'm just trying
Yeah. Okay.
to understand.
And
that.
you know what? I went over this probably 5 times myself before I
Okay.
got. Looking at the house as it is there, right there on the left side of the house, there are 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor.
Mhm.
That's the larger unit in the main part of the house. On the right side of the house, there's 1 bedroom and a study on the 2nd floor. And then there's a studio apartment above the garage, which
Right.
certainly counts as a bedroom. I think any way you calculate it.
Okay, got it. And then could you also just show me the unit diagram one more time? I must have just missed it, but I thought I only saw 1 bathroom between the 2 units, but maybe it was
Okay.
just
No,
what
no.
was
Alright.
showing.
Right there is perfect. So.
Oh, now I see it. Yeah, I was looking at it different. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I know it's a busy drawing. It's hard to
Mhm.
follow.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. Trying to remember what I think maybe, I don't know if I really necessarily have questions on this, but just to be clear, I because there was a lot here, I asked Lori Lavoli and I asked Laura Davis a lot of questions about, well, what exactly are we trying to achieve here? And just to add some clarity in terms of a variance on the use of or having a 3-family, the reality is Lori Lavoli said that predated zoning. So basically the house goes back to 1810 or 1820. I don't remember which. As was noted in the presentation, it was a very large house. So it really was, an existing non-conforming, but you couldn't take that existing non-conforming and say you can't do this anymore because that was applied prior to zoning. So I don't really have questions about it. I think other board members have asked good questions here. So I'm sure there's probably going to be some public questions or comments here, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to open it up to the public.
Yes.
Okay. So if anybody in the public has any comments or questions, just raise your hand. Okay. I have Raymond Hawkinson.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hawkinson.
Wilkinson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, I'm Ray Hokinson. I live at 10 Main Street, so I'm considered an abutter. I've lived here for at least about 30 years, since 1993, so maybe not quite 30. I guess, here's my take on this whole thing. The previous building, 15 Main Street, had its multifamily nonconformity because it was built before Southborough zoning. I think the date for the house is 1811. Zoning was enacted sometime in the 1970s. So it really had a grandfathered exception to Southborough zoning. That's where its nonconformity and its exceptions come in. When they knocked the building down, I think they lost that grandfathered exception. It no longer existed. So when any other building sort of changes, you don't carry the grandfathered case along unless you buy it intact and you keep it intact. Now they're trying to build sort of to a new zoning code, and there is really, in my opinion, nothing to grandfather. So they really should apply all the constraints and all the rules that apply to Res A. I think most of us don't have too much of a problem with the possible special permit, accessory apartment over the garage. That happens. That happens often enough. But the 2-family housing is not allowed in Res A. It is allowed if you have a full house and then wait 2 years or more and then apply separately for a possible conversion to a 2-family. So there's that case. There's the other case that I think the owners of the current house, which I think is a little bit, well, I better not even raise that question. It's a little odd. The owners bought the historic home in 2006, eyes wide open. It's a historic home. And to be honest with you, as an owner of a historic home, mine is 1840, it comes with baggage. You have to, my comment is it's a race. Can you fix it up faster than it falls down? But eyes wide open, they bought it as a historic home, warts and all. They chose, in my opinion, over a period of time, not to renovate or remodel and they intentionally demolished the house despite efforts of the Historic Commission trying to intervene and help and assist them. They pretty much ignored them. They said, it's not working for us, we're just going to tear it down and start new. Well, if they made that decision, then they should make the decision to build it like any other Res A zone that they're in. Side comment is there are 3 curb cuts out there physically. I walk by it all the time. And that driveway that's 20 feet wide is huge, almost like there's another implication. It is not consistent with the neighborhood at all, the driveway structure. Nobody else has circular driveways. In the other cases, those type of aspects are not characteristic of the historic neighborhood that it's in. And Southborough actually has recently been granted, since December of last year, actually it's at least a year, a National Register Historic District. So this whole neighborhood and the immediate area is a historic neighborhood. And they sort of flaunted that sort of characteristic and saying, well, we're just going to do what we want. And I really think we should make them work within the real zoning and not try to give them pick and choose what they want to apply. Because when they knocked down the house, in my opinion, they lost all rights to any nonconformity. I made some notes. Let me just see if there's other things here that I want to apply. I think that I've spoken to other neighbors. I think my points here are very typical of the neighborhood. We're all appalled at the loss of a long-standing historic home. Homes that are been around since 1800 are by nature, need work, but at the same time, they've got good bones. They never would have lasted that long if they weren't structurally sound. So I think there were a lot of alternatives that the owners had to renovate within the character of the house and to renovate and remodel and meet their needs, but they chose to knock it down. So in choosing to knock it down, I think they've lost that right to any exception that they had or any inherited exception to a new construction on what is currently a vacant lot.
Okay.
I think that's my comments.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Hokinson. If I could, Laura, I'm just going to, because we did seek a legal opinion, just to respond to the idea that the demolition would impact the non-conforming use. It was the opinion of the legal counsel of town that the demolition does not affect the continuing viability of the non-conforming use. And I think, Brian can come on to answer further questions if necessary. But if I could just read the legal opinion, it said, assuming that some might equate demolition with abandonment, your local bylaw says that abandonment only occurs after 2 years of non-use. Furthermore, in that some case law and some local bylaws turns on the intent to abandon, it certainly appears that there has been effort and intention for several months to continue the pre-existing non-conforming use in some fashion within the 2 years. It is also important to note that the structure and the use are separate issues. Some of the cases I saw cited by members of the public apply only to structures. So I think what he's trying to say here is, what they're presenting is actually would be conforming to zoning as it is now. The use, however, would not be, and it's their opinion that by taking down the house, it does not mean that they've lost that non-conforming use or the continuing viability of it. But I think we should probably, I don't know if somebody else from the public wants to comment or ask questions. Is there anyone else, Laura, who was raising their hand?
No one else from the public. I do see Dan has his hand up.
Okay. Bring it back.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I wanted to give anybody in the public that wanted to speak an opportunity, but it doesn't seem like there's anyone else. I just want to respond to the comments about, the historic, the nature of the house, and that my client somehow flaunted that and did whatever they wanted. That's entirely untrue. They received approval from the Historic Commission to remove the house after public hearings and a lengthy process and a lot of neighborhood input. So, thank you.
Dan, can you tell me why the house was demolished prior to having an accepted plan?
I'm not sure. I think it was having to do with a concern, they had the permit to demolish it. And because that had been such a battle, they didn't want it to expire or otherwise run out.
Yeah, I would also, I don't know what any of the other members of the board feel, but I think we also try here to try to stay within our bounds.
That's
What Aldo used to call the four corners, right? Like if there's a complaint that there's a water issue here, my response is then the Conservation Commission should become involved. And without meaning any disrespect to anybody, if there's an issue with the historical nature of it, that's just beyond the bounds of what this board is charged with. This board is charged with, when an applicant has an issue with enforcement of zoning and seeks relief. So, that really doesn't get into the historical nature of the house. So I appreciate the comments from Mr. Bailey, as well as from Mr. Hokinson. I don't feel like that's something we can really do a whole lot about. But and actually, I don't know, Mr. Winter, did you have anything to add to this since the legal question was raised?
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chairman, and I know you can see my name, but for the folks watching who haven't seen me before, Brian Winter from Mead, Tellerman and Costa, counsel to the board. The only comment I was going to make, and you sort of got to it before I did, was to make people aware that we have provided a written opinion, and if that isn't available to people, you can make it available. You quoted it, and that was good. Just so that people know that we have opined on this, we've looked at it, and the board has the benefit of that. And I think you've already gone over it, and so I don't see any good cause to kind of repeat it. So I won't. But just so that people are aware that we have examined that, we reached a conclusion. And as you recited, the conclusion is that this is allowable. And just one thing I will underscore is that the zoning act and your zoning bylaw aren't sort of two separate and distinct things. The zoning act in 40A6 is zoning. And so to comply with 40A6 is compliance with zoning. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate the note. I think you're right in saying that since we cited a legal opinion, it should be included in whatever the decision is.
David, I have a hand up from the public.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Diana, you should be all set.
Hi, yes. I live at 24 Main Street, just across the street from 15 Main Street. And I'm just kind of a little curious about the new driveway situation. Is there going to be any kind of like review I heard you mention the DPW would review something about it, but I guess I'm just a little nervous about if we were backing out of our little driveway and then like just smacking into another car. I don't know. So just curious about that.
Honestly, I'm a little uncertain about that. But I would think, correct, maybe Craig, I don't know if you or Mike could help out here, but if you're doing a curb cut, doesn't that require some level of review by the DPW? And maybe do they have standards that they apply in a situation, I would think?
Yeah, most, all right, I haven't looked at our regulations in great detail about that, but when I've worked on other properties, any new curb cut is a DPW type of thing. They do have standards, so, in terms of distance to other driveways and widths and so forth. So it will have to go to some level of approval. It might not be a public hearing level of approval as much as an administrative one, but it will have to be reviewed and assessed and addressed in terms of standards and safety.
I think that, thank you for that, Craig. Go, Mike, you had something?
Yeah, certainly, as it relates to a special permit, it's got to be substantially, it can't deviate from the kind of the neighborhood, the feel. And so, I think there is something to be said with respect to, since this application came before us with that type of expansive driveway, that certainly I think is within our purview to review. Is that driveway as it's constituted, in conformity with what's required for a special permit?
So I got the question there would be, is it somehow derogating from the neighborhood?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a question for the board, but certainly that would fall into our purview as well, because I agree that DPW is the one that handles the cut, but how much they're going to sink their teeth into it as it relates to the overall feel of that area is a question. That's all. Okay.
I would say, absent any further discussion about it, Ms. Bella, that's probably something that you would, as Craig said, there's not going to be a hearing on it, but you could certainly probably follow up with the building department in town, who may redirect you again to the DPW. Whether or not that this takes away from the neighborhood or the characterization of the neighborhood is something that we can debate as a board.
Ray is right in what he said, that there are no other circular driveways in our little area. And as the three cuts currently stand, there is no, they kind of are at an angle, so it wouldn't be an issue of like running into anyone. But to the point of the circular driveway, I would be curious to know about. I know it would make their lives easier living there, but no one else has that.
Yeah, I think because, again, just to go back to the reality of the situation, you have a pre-existing 3-family home. It's just, again, ease with respect to the occupants of that property in order to have that. So, like, I understand why. I'm just pointing that out as far as the board goes. Making sure that we understand and look at all these issues.
Yeah. I mean, is that something that the neighbors object to, feel strongly about regarding the circular driveway? I think we know that the general feedback on the structure, but we haven't really asked about that, about the driveway, if that's a concern.
Just speaking for myself, I just hearing how many cars could potentially be there is a little bit alarming for me. And I know next door, yes, it is a St. Mark's property, but there are like 2 young boys that live next door, and that I saw the proposed driveway is very close, like on the line of the property. So I do think it'd be worth further discussion.
Okay. Mr. Bailey, as far as you know, the driveway conforms to zoning requirements in that district, correct?
You're on mute, sir.
I think he's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, as far as I know, it conforms. I mean, the other thing I'd point out is that, directly next to us is a large commercial use with probably 40 parking spaces in the front. And if there's, going to be a problem with the driveway and parking area, it's most likely to come from there as opposed to from my client's property. We're surrounded on our side of the street by commercial and institutional uses.
Right. That is immediately adjacent to the property to the east.
Yeah.
But next door, it is a house, though. It's a faculty house. A family lives there, so it still has retained the same look as all the other houses on the street.
Right. Agreed. I guess all I'm trying to draw attention to is I think when it comes to the driveway, you know, if it's conforming with zoning requirements, then I guess it only comes down to, do we think this somehow takes away from the neighborhood? And
That's
I'm not
exactly
sure.
right. That's exactly right.
I could be wrong, but I believe St. Mark's, which is a butter, has a circular driveway. And kind of in front, once you go in and then you want to turn around in front of that main St. Mark's like office administrative building, I believe there's like a circular driveway right there.
David, I have 2 more hands up.
I don't know if that's considered close enough to be, part of Main. It's not Main Street, right? I guess. But I believe that a butter may have a circular driveway. If I'm remembering correctly, I may not be.
No, you're right. And I was thinking of that more as like the school, I guess, like the old firehouse type.
I was thinking the same.
Attorney Bailey, could you put up the slide that shows in perspective how large that semicircular driveway is?
I can't, but
I will.
Laura.
Hang on. Yeah. Okay.
Greg, you were alluding, it looks very large.
Hold, please.
The building itself, and I don't want to make it a rabbit hole and detract, but the building itself, as beautiful as it is not the building. And the building that was there was not particularly attractive, in my opinion, but it's not. I'd hope to see something more architecturally fitting if we're in this rabbit hole for that, whatever, it's a house, but it looks very modernized. That's okay. So we're looking at the driveway. So that's from the property line of St. Mark's house. That's owned by St. Mark's, that house next door. But that can't be, I would say that's 5 or 10 feet. It's just as close as you could get to the line. And then on the other side, it's sort of moot because the field and the iron dog is on the other side. So
Yeah.
So it does get quite tight on that one side, but Attorney Bailey is indicating it's far enough from the property line, but it's big. So that stretch would be, what's the frontage on the property? Does anybody know that? It's more than 150 feet.
214 plus 80, so about 320. Three.
Okay, so I'd say that's 100. I'm just trying. It's at least all of 150 feet of the 214. It's big in perspective, the way I would look at that.
David, whenever you're ready, there are 3 people who have their hands up.
Yeah, why don't we move on to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I have Mr. Hokinson again. Hang on. Here we go.
Okay, just commenting again on the driveway. Like I said, it won't go to the DPW because those 3 cuts that are shown on that plan are already there. So it's not going to go to the DPW. Those curb cuts are already in place. Anybody who walks the dog by that house has seen that there's multiple curb cuts. But the quote there was that the driveway was 20 feet wide and is circular. That is a good fraction of the front yard that is just asphalt and just focused on cars. And I don't think that is very typical of the neighborhood at all. So I think I was just struck. This is the first time not the first time, but this plan is the first time to show a driveway that's circular like that and is really sizable to the front yard. So from a street characteristic of our historic town Main Street, I think it is quite distracting, just a comment. That's my only comment on the driveway.
All right, thank you. If there's somebody else who wants to come in, Laura?
Yes. Hold please. I have David Perry.
Okay,
Okay, David, you're okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just wanted to, yes, a comment on this driveway thing. Mr. Hookins, I personally don't have any particular problem with the circular driveway, but the curb cut, you know, is an issue which I think the zoning board of appeals can properly condition, because you know the standard curb cut width, you can see it's the middle one. The middle one was just put in 2 years ago. I mean, you know, 3-4 years ago when the main street was constructed, and the applicant actually applied for the third curb cut, the one in the middle. So that is the standard width of a standard curb cut. The one on the left is you know, existed for probably 100 years. It never was a curb cut. It was just a sort of, you know, because there weren't any curbs. It was just a you know, an asphalt or a gravel main street for 100 years. So the one on the left really isn't a curb cut. It's just whatever remained from 1811. So I just suggest the proper thing to do is to make the one, you know, reduce the one on the left at the neck down to the standard, which is the one in the middle. It looks very similar to the one on the right, actually, but the one in the middle is the standard because that was just recently built. So I suggest you just condition it on that, and that problem goes away.
thank you. I mean, my only comment is I think it's a valid one that it is a pretty sizable driveway for a house that's a structure that's not really that big. I think Mr. Perry's point on the size of the curb cut to the left is rather large. I don't know if I'm reading that correctly. Yeah, I'm not sure about what the dimensions are trying to tell me here.
Well, Dave, if I may,
Sure.
I mean, just pulling it up on Google Maps, it exists. I mean, it exists to the extent that it's been paved. There's granite curbs rounding that corner that were done as part of Main Street.
Yeah,
I mean, this isn't before us in terms of that. It is
that's true.
Existing curb cut.
Well, I don't know if the request is not maybe so much to do something about the curb cut.
Right.
But is it possible to neck it down? Because it is rather large. I think the point about the ratio of asphalt to the rest of the yard here is a good one. That's rather big. I agree with you, Craig, that the curb cut exists, but you know, do you need to carry that through for as long as you do? I think I hear the neighbors on that.
Do we have any other public?
Yeah, I have two more.
Sure.
I have Michael Weishan. 1 second. Okay.
And then
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to comment as. Can you hear
actually,
me?
if I can cut in, I know we didn't ask David Perry to do it, but name and address. For the
Yeah,
record.
sorry, Craig.
Good evening. Michael Weiss on 189 Corderville Road. As the former chair of the Historical Commission and as president of the Southborough Historical Society, I'd like to give you a little background to this process. As many of you may know, this was the demolition of the Newton Homestead, the 1850 house that stood here before, was a highly contentious issue that occupied the Historical Commission for the better part of a year. We lost that battle in part because the homeowner went around us to the then chair, Marty Healy, and appealed our process. But during these hearings, the homeowner repeatedly said that she wanted a single family home. She did not want a multifamily home. She did not want to use the historic adaptive reuse of properties, which would have allowed, without coming to the ZBA, an auxiliary and apartment. We had thought, actually, that we had settled on a design that would have respected, for new construction, a property that would have encompassed the needs of the homeowner. And then that was sidetracked by the Board of Selectmen. The house was then demolished, and now we have this plan, I am absolutely opposed to granting any sort of exemption variance for this property. What was asked of us was a demolition permit to take down one of our most historic houses. Granted, not one of our most aesthetically pleasing houses, but a house that could have been returned to its former glory. And instead, the owner wanted to demolish it to build a single family home with a detached garage. I think the owner needs to conform to the promises made to the Historical Commission and at multiple town meetings. And that's how this process should move forward. I am completely opposed from an historical perspective as someone who does historic landscapes to this huge circular driveway. 20 feet for a driveway is bonkers. 15, very ample. 12, standard. 10, passable. But there's also historic trees in front of this property. We are now in the new National Register district in terms of how this is all going to, work together. So this process to go essentially again around our zoning laws, I think should be shut down. And I am completely and entirely opposed to this. I cannot say this any more strongly or vehemently than I'm doing now.
Thank you, Mr. Weishen.
Thank you.
Laura, do we have anybody else?
I have one more. Okay, Tim Fling.
Thank you. Tim Fling, 18 Main Street. I'm essentially across the street from this property. As a general rule, I'm pretty supportive of the general plans of what the house looks like. I do have a question about the existing driveway that is on the property with the proposed new driveway. Do we know if the existing driveway would be removed, or would that also stay in addition to the new driveway that would be part of the plan?
Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, it will be removed. Mr. Chair, while I have the floor, can I just mention a couple of other things?
You may.
Yeah, I've been texting with my client, and we are open to narrowing the width of the curb cut on the left. I will point out that there are 3 curb cuts. We are going to 2. That would certainly be an improvement. But given the comments that we're hearing about and the concerns about the width of the driveway on the left, we would be open to a condition to narrowing that to.
Okay. To more closely match what you have on the right, perhaps?
Yeah, or the one in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I think as Mr. Nicholson pointed out, that the curb cut exists. I don't know that you're changing that. I think just to be particular, you would is the commitment to make the driveway less wide.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're not changing that, but we hear the comments and we'd like to accommodate that.
Okay. Okay, I guess the question before the board is if assuming that there's not opposition to the general application for special permit, what would be?
Well, there is some.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm just going to say I'm not sure how we want to propose that to make the driveway smaller.
Oh no! So I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. You had said like, oh, there wasn't opposition to the special permit.
Oh,
I think maybe I misheard you.
Yeah, no. I guess what I'm saying is, I would rather, before we close the public discussion, do we have thoughts on how you might condition that the driveway issue that was raised? I really wish I could see what that width is. Do we know what the width is of the curb cut on the right?
Based on the scale, it looks to be about 20 feet, maybe even a little bit more.
I would agree, that seems pretty wide.
What if we just suggested something to the effect of the circular driveway can't be more wide, have a width more than 12 to 15 feet or something like that?
Well, that would be pretty clear. I guess anybody else want to weigh in on the width of the driveway here and how we might deal with that? Actually, I think the 15 feet is probably is pretty good.
I think the petitioner would say, hey, I'd like to amend our plan. You know, we're seeking, a special permit for this property, in their request, and then with the condition that the proposed driveway be X.
Right. But is that something we would be able to, you think, in your opinion, could we condition it here? Or is that something more that would have to be continued?
Well, they're the one, the petitioner would be the one conditioning their approval on that. They would say, hey, listen, this is what we're going to be doing.
Right. Okay.
We're going to approve this with that condition.
Well, just to be clear, it's raised by some of the neighbors. They're agreeing to reduce. If as a board we were to approve, we would need to establish a condition.
David, I don't know if I heard that from the neighbors. What I think I was hearing is, one of the neighbors said maybe reduce it. It looks large. I thought I heard 2 or more oppositions.
Yeah.
Remove it, take it off the plan. So I just want to make sure we're hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Those chiming in, Mike.
That's what I was referring to earlier, Doris. Exactly.
And we haven't addressed some other.
We haven't decided anything yet. I'm just.
No, I know.
I hear what David's trying to do is, to the extent that we did decide to discuss this, what are we looking at? What are we looking at vote at? And what are the conditions, if any?
Right.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to avoid is, if we have questions for the petitioner, we don't want to close the public meeting and then say, well, we think we ought to be able to do X. And now we've closed the public meeting. That's what I'm trying to avoid, really.
I totally get it. I know exactly.
Okay, I'm with you on it, David. I understand.
Mr. Chair? Mr.
Yes.
Chair? I've got a proposal for you. What we would propose is that the board condition that the circular section of the driveway be no wider than 15 feet at any point. The section of the driveway in front of the garage obviously has to be wide enough to get the cars into the garage. But we can narrow down the circular section to 15 feet.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say that you're not going to be able to do that immediately in front of the garage where the cars enter. So
yeah, and we want to make sure we still have the proposed turnaround. But the circular section we can address.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bailey. Okay,
I have a question. Sorry.
Please.
One of the commentators about with the historic commission said that the owner made promises to keep the property a certain way in front of that board, and I thought he said town meeting, but I may misremember that. Does that hold any weight for us?
Well, Jamie, honestly, my take on that is I don't, again, we're sticking within what happens within zoning.
Exactly.
It's pretty hard for me to comment on. This is what they said to the historical commission. I don't have any.
Oh,
idea.
I agree. We can't comment on it now. I guess my question is it worth it to go? Is there any kind of precedent to go back?
I think if I can, David, I think it's one of those things where, they got a permission to demolish this. I can't speak to how or why that was done, but here we are with a vacant lot and a proposal. I know exactly what you're saying, Jamie. Like, what's the backstory on this? To a certain degree, I'm willing to go down that rabbit hole, but at the same time, it's the petitioner's property. They
Right.
to demolish it and they, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, we promised to do this, we promised to do that. You know, it's one of those things, unless a deal is struck and done,
Yeah.
you know, it's their property.
Yeah. My view on that is they got a valid demolition permit
There you go.
and they did it.
Yep.
If the historic commission, based on this proposal, feels that there was terms of that permit that isn't upheld, then they need to pursue actions from the historic commission's point of view.
There it is.
I would agree that is
Okay.
within the purview of the historical.
I know exactly what you're saying though, Jamie, because sometimes like it's really important we stay in our lane, but it's also, we just don't want to avoid like not looking at like a serious issue on the side. So like,
Agree.
that's why,
Yeah.
that's why at the start of the meeting, I'm like, I asked Dan, like, well, why was it torn down? Like it just, there seemed to be that's why I was trying to dig a little bit there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was worth the discussion for
Yeah.
the public
Awesome.
to
I
hear.
love it.
And if the person from the historic commission is still on, then, you know, he can seek to address it if he wants to.
David, I have 3 hands up if you.
Oh, boy. Okay, all right.
Going
I
backwards.
well, right, but I before we take them on, I just want to say, I would hope we're not going to go over old ground. If there's something new they want to bring up or something they want to point out that we haven't covered, or maybe, or perhaps something related to the 15-foot circular driveway proposal, that's fine.
Okay. And Tim?
Yes, Tim Fling, 18 Main Street. My only comment about this, I'm like I said earlier, I was in support of this whole thing. The only thing I would ask is the circular driveway in fashion of the neighborhood. And I did want to point out that the only circular driveway that I can think of on Main Street mentioned is the old police station. And that is that turnaround going in front, the fire station, the old firehouse. That's the only circular driveway, and that was for that building. There's no residential except maybe the townhouse at the corner, not the townhouse, the community center. I think that's the only one.
Good.
That's my only comment.
Thank you.
And Michael.
Yes, good evening. Hi. I just wanted to clarify. So as the former chair, I was speaking in my private and personal capacity about the history of this property. I'm giving you my advice as someone who designs historic landscapes for a living in terms of the driveway width. But as a taxpayer and a citizen of Southborough, I would, again, very much disapprove of the granting of any sort of variance for an auxiliary apartment at this property. And essentially, that's my main reason for calling in here this evening, to give you a little bit of background about what happened there.
Okay, thank you. But I
Thank
think you've made it clear that you oppose it, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
And we have one more or no?
Nope.
Okay.
Somebody had their hand up, but they put it down. So.
Okay. All right. All right. Board members, do we have anything else that we need to discuss publicly?
I don't.
Okay.
Make
Do
a
you feel
motion
ready?
to close the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion to close the public hearing with a second. All in favor, respond with aye. Paul? Paul?
Aye.
Aye, yep. Williams, aye. Mike?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
And Doris?
Aye.
Okay. So we've now closed the public part of the meeting. I don't know how the board members feel, if we're ready to vote on it with a condition, or if there are still concerns remain. I mean, I guess I'm looking at it as the concern, other than the legal part, which we addressed, seemed to be with the size of the driveway, which the applicant has agreed to reduce, and even giving us some language we could use. So.
I mean, personally, I think it with the opinion of our town attorney in regards to the ongoing viability of a non-conforming use. You know, it seems pretty clear that this is a special permit to rebuild what is all other aspects of our zoning code conforming, but for the use, which is grandfathered under the counsel of our town attorney.
Okay, agreed.
That's it.
All right.
And would obviously be happy to make a motion to approve the special permit with the condition that the circular portion of the driveway is no wider than 15 feet.
I'd second that.
Okay, the motion to approve the special permit as written with the condition that the circular driveway not exceed 15 feet. With a second, all in favor, respond with aye. Paul? Oh,
He's frozen.
frozen.
We lost Paul.
Oh, I heard something.
Was that aye, Paul?
Yes, I,
Okay. Doris?
yes.
Aye. Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Williams, yes, as well. All right, thank you very much. The special permit is approved. We'll work on the decision. I think the process, as Laura has very cleanly outlined it, is we need to provide that to the town clerk within 14 days, and there's a 20-day appeal period after we give it to the town clerk, which you probably are well aware of.
Yeah, can I just make sure that someone takes special care with that condition to make sure it's clear for them going forward?
Okay, yeah, I think we'll have to make sure that's really clear, Laura.
Yeah, I have already asked town council to review the decision once it's drafted as well, just to make sure the language is good.
Right, I think that's probably wise. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was easy. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda approval of meeting minutes dated January 18th, 2023. Hoping everybody had a chance to review. I took a look through them. I did not find any concerns in the minutes. Anybody else? Madly scramble to find the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that too.
They're on page 96 of the packet, if that's helpful.
Only page 96.
Only page 96.
It
We
was
are
a
thankful for the
double
electronic versions
packet.
now, Laura. Okay, I did look at this, so I don't remember seeing that there was an issue here. Yeah, this was 35 Pine Hill with Mr. Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was captured pretty well, was my opinion. And then 15 Main Street, that was continuing to tonight. And then application updates and electronic filing. All right, if there are no issues with minutes as written, I'll take a motion on them.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
So a second?
I'll second it. I think we lost
Start.
Paul.
Okay. Yeah, we seem to have lost Paul. Okay, motion to approve the minutes from January 18th has been made, seconded. Respond, all in favor, respond with aye. Mike?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Doris?
Aye.
Williams? Aye. Paul, if you can hear us, do you have you were there? I'm concerned.
Go with I for Paul.
I'm gonna go with that, yeah.
We don't really need a vote from Paul. Four is enough to approve the
Four is
minute.
enough.
Mike
This
is
is-
Paul's proxy.
That's
Yeah.
it, man. You
No,
got that.
We
You got
have
that
town
right,
council
Jamie.
on the line. Let's not flaunt the
Paul
rules in
and I
front
are
of them.
simpatico.
no.
Let's go,
I-
people. That's an I.
I think your point is good, Craig. We can just say not, not voting, right? Let's just
Not voting.
4-0.
Abstained.
Abstain. Okay. And then now I did have, Laura, just to be clear, I should have noted this before. The agenda says our next meeting is March 15th, but we talked about making it March 22nd, correct?
We did, yeah. So I had heard back from everybody except for Paul.
Sorry, it's not funny.
So everybody was on board with March 22nd.
Okay.
Except for Paul, but I mean, you have a quorum, whether Paul can make it or not. So it's up to you guys if you want to move it.
Okay. All right. Well, he just texted me back that it's not his night. He's trying to log back in. So hopefully he can weigh in on it. So let's wait on him, but the other item is the revised application rules and regulations. And I know we're an hour and a half in. Did you have anything particular you wanted us to take a look at tonight, Laura, when it comes to that?
No, I wanted to see if you guys had any revisions or feedback. Obviously it was the first draft. See if it was the direction that you wanted to go.
I mean, my comment on what I saw is, I liked it that it seemed to be more directing the user directly to, or the applicant, I'm sorry, to where they need to go. So I like the idea of it. I can't say I pulled apart every last detail, but they looked good to me.
Okay.
Paul.
Yeah, I would agree.
Sorry, Craig. Paul, are you okay with March 22nd for the next meeting? Just move, do anything.
Blink
It's definitely not
twice.
his night. Blink twice. Text me back. I don't know. It is not his night. So, Craig, go ahead. What did you have?
Oh, I was just in regards to the forms. I think they look great. I mean, I see forms from other zoning boards and they're horrible. This is phenomenal compared to this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think you and perhaps Mike are more familiar with other zoning boards. I'm not, but I agree. I think it looks really good. It looks to me like it's simplifying it for the applicant, which I really like.
We're burning through we're way ahead. We're looking
Good.
actually, one question, is this like a fillable PDF form?
It will be in its
Okay.
final form. Yeah.
Great.
Uh,
That also helps.
Even better, yeah.
Yeah. In our last meeting, we talked about the new section, so we get more complete applicants, and I reread the section for the is it Lori to do the second set of signatures. The only thing I might want to suggest there, it's not required. Maybe we should state that what's optional is the word for us. Can we place the word optional? And that way, they don't have to do it. We don't want to put a delay that they don't have to, but it's really on there to get a complete application and to get help, not hinder someone, but someone may think of that as a hindrance for some
So
reason.
we did talk about that, right? Like
We did. So my thought on it, yeah, it reads well. It's just optional, because we're here to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I can definitely add that, like in
unless somebody
where it
thinks-
says building commissioner review, put optional.
Yeah, building commissioner review.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that input to that, Doris.
You're welcome, David.
All right. Paul, did we get confirmation? March 22nd?
Sure.
I heard sure.
That sounded like
He's got to use the chat. That's the only way to do it.
Turn off the video.
Yeah, throw it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. That's confirmation. I think we should be good for March 22nd for the next meeting.
Okay. Do you guys need to vote on that?
I don't think so.
I don't
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
It's really about agreeing on a time to post, right?
Yeah.
Do we have applicants?
I am not sure. That appeal from 15 Main was gonna be for March. So I need to wait to hear from them to see what their plan is. And then, but also while I'm thinking of it, you guys have asked previously about when virtual meetings are set to expire. They are currently set to expire March 31st. The state is working on making them permanent, but it hasn't happened just yet. So that might be something that we need to consider for April. Is there is a possibility that we might have to be in person. I know the April meeting is during April vacation. So I don't know if that complicates things.
I'm overseas in April.
Tell me something we haven't experienced before, Doris.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes
why
you
we have
can.
alternates.
This is not a fake background. I've been grounded for, well, not that long, but I've been grounded for quite a while now. I'm gone for 2 months, so I'm overseas 2 months. So let's just not worry about it until I got to worry about it.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know.
So that is, I do have school age kids, so potentially I may not be here in person if it is.
Okay.
If it is in person.
We might want to think about that if Doris is going to be overseas to make sure it works for Jamie.
Yeah, just heads up. Maybe April they won't have it sorted out, but I assume they're gonna sort it out.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
And then Laura, when we push out our meeting for a week, I'm assuming that doesn't change your deadlines of when you need things from people. We're keeping everybody to the same regular standard.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. The only deadlines it really changes are like deadlines for public hearing notices, but those are in ahead of time anyways, so.
Okay.
I had seen that you had sent some correspondence out that Park Central is bumping its way through the process. I saw something come out.
Yeah, they got approval from Mass Housing, so that's the next step would be to come to ZBA. I have no idea when that's gonna happen.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll keep you guys posted though.
And I did call the Ethics Commission on that and was told I should not participate in those decisions, just FYI.
Okay.
Okay.
It may be not to get the answer right now, but when there was one of our other hearings that we could foresee that it would take a few hearings to go through the process. That would be feedback on that would be good if it's gonna, the application looks like we can't get it done by, let's say 10 or 11 at night.
Yeah, and we had that meeting with Mr. Talman, and I think that was really good. I agreed with him. I think we could easily say we're not going, past 9 o'clock, and that's just going to be the way it goes. But he seemed pretty clear that we could set those ground rules if we wanted.
Right. Yeah. One of the other petitions was being able to consecutively attend them. So in order to get the quorum, so it has to be the original 4 or 5 of us that are, so just that we do that very cleanly in addition to the time.
Right. I recall for the last one, by the end, there was just three people because they were the only ones that could attend. And I'm sure Paul remembers it well.
Yeah.
He's no good. He's dead.
I don't know if we can,
Paul's dead to me. Let's go.
I don't know if we can rely on Paul to do his usual duty tonight.
That's what I'm worried about.
I'm kind of worried about that.
Paul's in his house. You're in
Hold on. I'll send it to chat.
I don't know. Can you legally do that? Make a motion via Zoom chat?
Oh, it would have to be because otherwise it would be discriminatory. And
Mike's his proxy, so he should read the chat.
Well,
There it
Brian's
is.
on the call. Can we chat? Can we? I bet we can.
I think, as long as it's part of the public record, is the chat. part-
Ah, good point, Mike. Yeah.
I actually don't think, I don't know.
Brian's nodding.
You
so
wouldn't
I
know.
don't
Would you know it's them? I mean, I guess if there's enough proof, it's them.
Well, then, given the audio situations,
Ooh,
Eric just
there
came
it
in,
is.
and whether it's myself or Paul, if there's any ambiguity, we'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second that.
Okay, motion to adjourn with a second. All in favor, respond with aye. Against, nay. Mike,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Paul, however you can do it. Craig,
Aye.
Jamie, I'm sorry, Doris,
Hi.
Williams, aye. And Paul, drum roll, please. I'm betting it's aye.
He made the motion.
Made the
Yeah.
That's what I'm
motion,
saying.
and I don't think we need it. Let's go
No.
with,
I think you only need 4.
I think we're
There you go.
okay. I think
We've
we
got
got
4.
enough. I think we have enough ayes.
Okay, great. Mr. Winter, thank you for your patience tonight. Thanks to all the board. I know it was a bit long. I think it was good work, though.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me tonight and nice to meet everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for the help,
Bye.
Brian.
Good evening.
Nice
See
meeting you as
soon.
well.
Have a
Take
good
care.
evening, everybody.
Good night.